Welcome. Today is another day for figs. Figs are incredibly nutritious. They're one of the 7 foods for the promised land, and they just are a food that I have grown to love. One reason I love them is because they're growing right outside the window behind me. And I'm going to give you a little peek of what's happening out there. So today we're making some pecan fig muffins. I'm going to teach you how to use fresh figs or dried figs. They both work in this recipe and they both taste delicious. Hi, I'm Annette Reeder from thebiblicalnutritionist.com. I really hope that you'll subscribe down below so you get notified every time we post more videos. And my goal is to help you become confident in the kitchen and your cooking, confident in understanding how God designed your body to heal, and confident to understand that He loves you. All right, let's get started. Here I'm going to give you just a glimpse of my fig tree right outside that kitchen window where I'm doing videos. Just going to give you a close-up of the figs that are on the tree. You can see quite a few hanging there. And then if you come over here, you'll see one at the top that's almost ripe. And then if I can look through the leaves, right on there you see one that's ready to be picked. So we've got quite a few figs coming out on this tree. More and more keep growing and ripening every day. We're picking about a dozen a day, so it is quite a few for us. This is a new food for us to be working into our diet every day, but we are definitely enjoying it. To get started, we're going to mix our dry ingredients first. So I'm starting with 2½ cups of flour. This is freshly milled flour. I'm actually using a hard red wheat for this. Most recipes that you look at on the internet, they're just using white flour, so it's a little bit lighter and fluffier than the freshly milled flour. I could use the flour sifter to make these lighter and fluffier. If you're not familiar with that, be sure and catch my video on how to use the flour sifter. Now I'm going to add to this baking powder, baking soda, salt, and a spice that I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it really enlivens recipes. It's called the Chinese 5 spice. Here you can see the Chinese 5 spice. It's from Spice Hunter. If you flip it over, we can see what's in it. Right here we have star anise, cloves, cinnamon, fennel, and black pepper. Really just adds, like it says on the label, an intoxicating flavor. It really does smell amazing and taste delicious in the recipes. It's important to make sure your dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed, especially the baking soda and the baking powder. Mix that up for you really good. And especially these seasonings, such a great blend, but we still want to make sure it's in every single muffin. Because I'm using fresh figs, I'm actually going to use my food processor, my immersion blender food processor, to blend this up. So I've got 2 cups of fresh figs. I'm going to add to this 2 large eggs. I'm going to add in our vanilla, 1 tablespoon of vanilla. And also, this is a sugar-free recipe. And so for the sweetener, besides the figs, I'm going to use some apple juice. So we just need 1 cup of apple juice. Now let's blend this up. If I was using dried figs, I would not use the immersion blender. I would just use a mixing bowl and stir it up that way. I would also use 1½ cups of apple juice. Since I'm using fresh figs and I'm using 2 cups of fresh figs, I'm only going to use 1 cup of the apple juice. Make sure the apple juice is organic. Make sure there's nothing added to it, just organic apple juice. All right, so there we have that. Set that aside. I'm going to now mix this into our dry ingredients, and then we'll add our pecans. I'm going to be adding in 1 cup of roasted pecans. When they're roasted, you get to experience more of the flavor of the nuts. I'm going to mix in almost all of the pecans, not all of them, because I'm going to save some for a topping. This Fisky is so much my new fun tool. It just does an incredible job. Like, you used to use a fork, and sometimes you need a whisk. Well, this is the in-between. It's a fork and a whisk together. We were giving this away on our website. People who are on our email list get notified first of our giveaways. So if you're not on our email list, make sure you go to thebiblicalnutritionist.com and get signed up, because you always want to know when we're giving away free stuff and how we're doing it. We also make notice of it on our Facebook page, The Biblical Nutritionist. Yes, we try to stay with the same theme everywhere. All right, these are all mixed up. I'm going to go ahead and add them to the muffin tins. I already have my muffin tins ready. Get that out of the way. I have already sprayed the muffin tins with an organic olive oil baking spray. I'm going to use a scoop, because when you use a scoop, you're going to have all of your muffins in a uniform size, which means they're all going to bake at the same time. When we just try to eyeball it, we get a lot of odd shapes and sizes, which means they're going to bake at different times. Some will be overdone and some will be underdone. And the scoop is just so much faster than doing it any other way. Once I realized this, baking just got a lot more fun. So there's our 12. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to top them with some chopped pecan. We'll do that next. Now I just want to make a streusel topping, and I'm going to do that by taking our toasted pecans, and I'm just going to chop them up. It would have been good for some of you, if you like your nuts chopped, to go ahead and chop the pecans that we put into the muffins already before we put them in. Sometimes I like to put them in whole, just because I like the extra crunch and flavor, but definitely most people do like them chopped. Once again, this little attachment, this food processor to your immersion blender, it is the bomb for cooking with. So now I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit on top of each muffin. So we start the streusel. Streusel is usually some nuts and some sweetener. So we're going to start with our pecans, sprinkling these on top of the muffins. And then we're going to top it with some cinnamon and sugar. We already have cinnamon in the muffins with the 5-spice, the Chinese 5-spice. So this is just going to bring that flavor out even more. There we go. Oops, one more at the top. And I usually keep my cinnamon and sucanat already mixed. I'm going to top those. Now, even though this is a sugar-free muffin, I am adding a little bit of sugar on top. You could eliminate this and not do it, or you could use a monk fruit or some other type of sweetener. So this is actually a cinnamon and sucanat that I'm using on top. One thing I know when I'm doing these videos, and just to teach you guys, I also have to think in the back of my mind, now who's going to eat this? So since my husband is going to be the one eating most of the food, or a lot of times I give it away, it's just good. I have to make it exactly how he's going to eat it. So he's going to want that little bit of sugar topping, even though I don't have sugar in the muffin. And because I milled my own wheat, I have high fiber content. Our muffins are ready to go in the oven. We're going to bake them at 375 for 18 to 20 minutes. Remember, if we can get figs in your family's diet, they're going to get such a burst of nutrition. It's like a powerhouse. I say that about almost all of God's foods because it's true. So the more we feed them the goodness, the more they're going to have good days. So let's put these in the oven and then we get to taste them. Our muffins are out of the oven, but I got to tell you something. Have you ever made a dish and you put it in the oven and you're so excited that you got it done, and then you look around and you realize you left out one ingredient? Well, that's what I did. I forgot to add the oil. Most muffins have oil in them. Well, it's 8 tablespoons of melted butter was supposed to be in these muffins. Well, I had 2 trays. I had the tray that I showed you, and then I had a few extra that I had in this tray. So I went back and mixed in the oil in those 4 muffins. And now they're out of the oven and I've tasted them. So the only difference is the one with the butter is more moist. But other than that, the flavor is the same. So actually the ones without the oil, obviously I'm going to have less fat, less calories. Remember, it's almost sugar-free except for the topping. And it definitely tastes a little bit sugar-free. So if I were to make them again, I would add a little bit of stevia to the mix. But here's what I would do instead. I would take your muffin, and when you serve it, I would just take your muffin like this. I would make a dipping sauce for your muffin, and I would dip it into this. Now, my dipping sauce today is yogurt, some 100% organic yogurt, unflavored. I added some stevia, some vanilla, and a little bit of cinnamon, and that's my dipping sauce for these muffins. That is really good. Now remember, I used fresh figs. So if you were using dried figs, you would bite into the fig, which would add the sweetness to every bite as you eat these muffins. So very good, extremely nutritious. You can definitely enjoy these any time of the year. I hope you try this recipe. Don't forget, I'll put all the ingredients down below in the recipe. Excuse me, I shouldn't have taken such a big bite. So that you can try it yourself. Try it with fresh figs, try it with dried figs. They're both going to be good, and your family's health is going to be amazing when you eat these foods. All right, I'm Annette Reeder, the Biblical Nutritionist. I'm here to serve you God's recipe for excellent health. Thanks for watching.